It's no problem to hold you, tongue stroke you, please you like I'm supposed to. Touch spots that ain't ever been touched, and I won't stop till both these squirrels get their nuts. Hey, you know it's good when we freakin', king size squeaking after I ease in. If you was with me, baby, 24/7, best believe that every single day would be a sweet day. Girl, you sweeter than a cheesecake. If you want beef, prophecy will be a beefcake. I make love to you till you fall asleep, leave you with sweet dreams between the sheets.
Lady, I want you. Every time I see you, I just wanna kiss you and hold you. Take you to my place, candlelight dinner. Then I start.
What's good, everybody? It's your man Big Dom coming live now to another TruPlayaz podcast episode. It's blessed to be talking with you guys on a very good day for New York basketball and good day for New York football. At least the first half of the good day of New York football. As the New York Jets upset the Cincinnati Bengals today. What can I say about it, you know? But before I get into that, I want to mention something here that will probably break a lot of New York Mets fans' hearts as we watch the Atlanta Braves one game away from winning their first World Series title since 1995. You know, this was a team that was supposed to finish second place to us this year. They lost their best player, Ronald Acuna, for the remainder of the season due to a knee injury. And this is where they're at. They're in the World Series. In the sixth inning, they're down 7-5 against Houston. However, but they're up 3-1, and basically one game away from winning the chip since 1995, the first since 1995. And as a Met fan, that shit just burns me to beyond avail, because the Atlanta Braves has been the New York Mets' biggest rival in the National League East. Not the Philadelphia Phillies, but the Atlanta Braves. And I'm just going to touch on it a little bit because the reality is about to set in. And Uncle Steve Cohen, has a lot of work to do. And right now, the work that he's doing right now, he's failing because, one, he doesn't have a new president of baseball operations. Two, he doesn't have a new manager. Three, he doesn't have a new general manager. And guys are balking at working for him. So he has to either change his ways or become more of a negotiator when it comes to bringing in these high-profile executives and managers to come work for him. That's the only way the Mets is going to improve. This year was a disappointment, and the disappointment still continues in the offseason, and that has to change. So on that note, we're going to slide over to basketball. A lot of my fellow Knicks fans are going to enjoy this part of the podcast. New York Knicks are 5-1. If the playoffs were to stop today, they'd be a number one seed in the Eastern Conference. What a surprise from a team that was bounced out of the playoffs in 5 games against the Atlanta Hawks. Granted, it is early in the season. It is very early in the season, but all signs point up. And for all intents and purposes, they should be 6-0. But I'll explain why they're not 6-0. And by the same token, what they've learned from that loss against the Orlando Magic, that was their only loss to a team that the previous game before that, they had blown up by 30 points. But now, I'm going to say RJ Barrett, our third pick in the draft 3 years ago, has arrived. He's risen. And I've said this many times before in my previous podcast about RJ Barrett. You didn't draft him number 3 for no reason. You drafted him for a night like last night when the team was struggling to score buckets in the fourth quarter, getting ready to blow another lead. Trust me, the New York Knicks this season has been nothing but short of, let's grab your Rolaids and start eating your Rolaids in the fourth quarter. They have not made easy wins easy. They slipped up, they lose their focus, they can't hit a bucket, and everybody, when they start to lose their focus, you got guys on that team that wants to play hero ball. And we can't have that. That's what cost them last year in the playoffs. It was the hero ball that they were playing. And actually, that hero ball actually cost them their only loss of the season against the Magic due to the efforts of Julius Randle and Evan Fournier. It seems like when the team get down, the two of them seem to like to go 1-on-1, 1-on-5, and try to be a hero. And with this team, with this amount of talent that this team has, with Kemba Walker, RJ Barrett, IQ, Obi Toppin, you got Mitchell Robinson back holding down the paint, grabbing rebounds, blocking shots, and getting easy dunks, off driving kicks. You got Derrick Rose coming off the bench. You got Alec Burke. You know what I'm saying? This team now has talent. The team has 2 point guards. If they both can stay healthy, and Kemba Walker and Derrick Rose, this team will go deep in the playoffs. I'm talking about Eastern Conference Finals. That's what I'm talking about. Against the Nets, if it's the Nets or the Bucks, whichever one of those, I can see this team, the way they're playing, if they maintain the same level of intensity, same level of focus, I can see this team in the Eastern Conference Finals. Argue with me whatever you want, especially if the number three pick of 3 years ago is playing the way he's supposed to be playing. He's becoming. My hope is the reason why I drafted RJ Barrett is for him to become a closer at the end of games. And if yesterday's game was not an indication that he's capable of doing that, I don't know what to tell you. If you don't see it, I saw it. I saw it even last year when Julius Randle was struggling in the playoffs. Barrett needs to have the ball in his hand more often. He's one of the guys who would get to the basket and score. Get to the basket and kick. He keeps working on that the 3-point game, his 3-point shot. That adds another element to his game. Last night, he finishes RJ Barrett, 12-18 with 35 points, 8 rebounds and 6 assists. 1 assist was to Taj Gibson, I think about a minute left in the fourth quarter when the Pelicans were making that surge to come back, cut the lead down to 4. RJ Barrett made a big pass to Taj Gibson. Knicks got to stop him. Next time down the floor, RJ Barrett hits a 3-pointer. This is the reason why you drafted him, pick 3. And as it turns out, as we're seeing here, briefly in their brief career, I have to believe that Ja Morant and RJ Barrett are the better draft picks than Zion Williamson. Right now. As of right now. Reason being, Zion Williamson has issues with injuries, and he has issues with his weight. He's 6'9" and about 300 pounds. And I remember that's a scary part. He's a young kid, 22 years old. He's having weight problems, 300 pounds. Granted, he'll probably get back into shape, but he needs to be somewhere around 260, 265. I think his weight is the reason why he's getting injured a lot in the NBA so far. And who's this? Who would have thought when he was drafted number 1, we would say that after 3 years, he's the 3rd best player out of that draft. And it's not because of talent either. It's just that he just can't stay in the court. When you can't stay in the court, you can't be in shape. So that's something the New Orleans Pelicans has to think about. And something that the Knicks should think about because Zion has his eyes on the Garden. He wants to play with his best friend, RJ Barrett, in the Garden. So the Knicks need to keep an eye on. I'm all for having last year I was all for having Zion Williamson in the team eventually when he becomes a free agent, a restricted free agent or unrestricted free agent in the next couple of years. But if he's going to balloon to 300 pounds, I don't think I want that guy on the Knicks and constantly injured. So that's a big thing. Once again, Tom Thibodeau is doing a great job with the team again. One thing I'm liking a lot with this team, that the amount of scorers their team has on the team. Julius Randle, I think after losing that game in Orlando, realizes that he has players around him who could also score the basketball. So he could do other facets of his game, which is rebounding, passing the ball, and still score. He scored last game. Went 4 for 9 and 10.6 rebounds and 4 assists. That's not going to be every night for Julius Randle. He's going to be back to 20 points, 24 points a game, 10 rebounds, and 5-6 assists. He's going to get back to that level. But the way he's going to have that, because of all these scorers around him, it's going to be much easier for him to score. He's not going to have to deal with a double team or triple team every time he gets the ball. The one issue I still have with Julius Randle is him, even with Derrick Rose and Kemba Walker, who are capable point guards who can bring the ball up the court. He, at times, is still bringing the ball up court. Let's conserve that energy for him to score, grab rebounds, and make the passes at the double team. Let's conserve that energy for that, not him bringing the ball up the court. That's just my opinion about the situation. But after the first 6 games of the season, nothing but feeling good about the New York Knicks team. Granted, their defense has suffered because of the additions. Evan Fournier is not the defensive player Reggie Bullock was. But we damn sure upgraded that point guard from Alfred Payton to Kemba Walker. Exponentially got better. Plus a guy who wants to be there too. So he's not afraid to sit the bench and let Derrick Rose take more minutes from him. He's not concerned about that. He just wants to win. He's back home, a Bronx kid, back home in New York, just to finish off his career in his hometown. That's something that you can never take away. He's definitely excited about doing that, and he's playing very well. Dropped 19 points, 5 assists, 6 for 11. Like I mentioned earlier, if the Knicks could keep both these point guards healthy into the playoffs, this team can and will go deep. Especially with RJ Barrett being the closer in the fourth quarter, especially with Julius Randle being the player that he is, the number one player on the team, while still scoring the same amount of points, it'll be easier for him. It won't be too much of a struggle for him. He'll get easy buckets because the other team's defense has to respect everybody else on that team. But I want the Knicks to do one thing though. I want them to figure out that zone defense teams play on them when they get into trouble with scoring. They have to figure that out. Move the ball. No hero ball. When it comes to zones, you can't play hero ball. You got to move the ball. Everybody has to touch the ball and drive to the basket. Drive and kick. If you can't hit that shot, try to drive in and try to get a foul. Try to get a foul and go from there. Hit your foul shots. But you got to move the ball. No hero ball from here on out. So I'm going to end off with basketball. It's funny. The Brooklyn Nets got all the star players. Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. Even though Kyrie Irving's not playing because of the mandates in New York City. I'm not going to speak too much. I'm not going to speak on it on this podcast. I feel him on an aspect, but by the same token, he does come across as a little bit of a hypocrite because during COVID last year, he was out there partying with no mask on and all that stuff. So he comes across a bit hypocritical, but I definitely rock with him as far as his thoughts are in regards to the mandate. But enough of that. As you can see, despite all the star power over there in Brooklyn, the Knicks are still the toast of the town. Still the toast of the town. So you can't knock that at all. But most importantly, let's get back to football, ladies and gentlemen. The New York Jets win their second game of the season. I want to beat up Robert Saleh. I want to beat up Joe Douglas. Not physically, but verbally on my podcast. Reason being, you go into the season with a rookie quarterback, with no backup quarterback, as I thought we didn't have. They go and trade for Joe Flacco in the middle of the week. Again, I'm like, okay, Flacco's going to step in and start. No, this guy, Mike White, comes in. Much to my surprise, this is a guy who's been jumping from practice squads since I believe 2019 or 2018. Got his first career NFL start. Completes his first 11 passes. Finishes off the game with 405 yards. He's the second quarterback, other than Cam Newton, to throw for 400 yards in his first start. A few negatives from Mike White, and I saw in that game. He rushed his throws a lot, even though he was completing a lot of his throws. Some of those rushed throws was interceptions as well. He needs to calm down. I think he was probably the excitement of being his first start. He was excited about starting, playing against Joe Burrow, who had a good game, 21 of 34, 259 yards. But he did throw 3 interceptions. I could be wrong, though. There wasn't 3 interceptions. I'll double check that. But I did notice the Jets finally got their first interception of the season by my man. Wasn't Shaq Lawson? That Shaq Lawson played for the plays for the Bucks, but you get what I'm saying. The other guy we got from Miami. He played for Miami. He played for Buffalo as well. So he had an interception. The Jets win 34-31. The defense made big stops at the end of the game to make it happen. But does this create a controversy with the New York Jets quarterback situation? Zach Wilson will be out for 3 more weeks. If Mike White somehow gets his team back to 5-5, by the time Zach Wilson is eligible to come back to play, do you bench Mike White for Zach Wilson? For Zach Wilson. If I was Robert Saleh, you got to stick with the hot hand. Everybody's saying, he's a number 2 pick in the draft. I've mentioned this on many podcasts. Being a rookie quarterback in New York City is different than anywhere else. I've mentioned this quarterback would need to sit a few games to let him catch up with the game. They threw him into the fire. Did he show some bright spots? Yes, he did, but he also showed a lot of negatives. One of the big negatives is his team gets off the slow starts in the beginning of the game offensively. And today was slightly different. Mike White got his team up and running. This team scored on their first possession, a touchdown on their first possession for the first time this year. Corey Davis was out with a hip injury that he injured during practice on Thursday. This was an opportunity for Denzel Mims to step up and become that player that I believe he could be. He had 1 drop in the end zone, a drop of a touchdown. That's not a good look. You got to hold on to that pass, buddy. But Jameson Crowder had a great game. Great game by Jameson Crowder. He had 8 catches for 84 yards. Michael Carter had 9 catches for 95 yards. And he also Michael Carter ran for 77 yards on 15 carries. All purpose, a lot of dump offs. Elijah Moore had a decent game, 6 catches for 67 yards. Ty Johnson, 5 catches for 71 yards. Basically, it was a total team effort. The ball was spread around by Mike White. He hit the open receiver. Didn't miss much receivers other than the interceptions. And the one thing I was kind of disappointed with was the batted balls at the line of scrimmage. Some inaccuracies that caused 1 interception. He threw the ball off for I believe I'm not sure if it was Michael Carter or Ty Johnson's head. Ricochet and the Cincinnati Bengals had the interception. So that's a big thing he has to work on. He has to slow down his process, slow down his reads. and he'll be okay. But right now, even with Joe Flacco on the team, I don't think you make that switch to Joe Flacco until Mike White struggles. And if you can maintain the same level of poise and composure that he played in this game, despite the two interceptions, I don't think Joe Flacco's going to see the field. I don't think Zach Wilson's going to see the field. Mike LaFleur called the game from the press box. You know what? When ain't broke, don't fix it. Stay in the press box and communicate via the walkie to your quarterbacks. Stay up there. Like I said, Robert Saleh has a lot to grow. Still has room to grow in his coaching career as a New York Jet head coach. But I think he finally took the first step in that growth. So let's see what happens with the New York Jets next week. So it's a lot of good things to see with the New York Jets. What I saw today, can the defense not give up 31 points? Yes, they can stop giving up 31 points. It's nice. It's cute. It's cute to get the W, but I want a dominating defensive performance. Quentin Williams had a big sack, a few goal line stands by the defense. They did do some good things in spurts, but they need to get back to being that dominant force with the front four. And I believe they will. I actually do believe that. So, like I said, we'll see what happens. I'm kind of excited to see what's going on with the New York Jets right now. And let's keep the ball rolling. Now we just got to wait to see what the Giants do later tonight against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's not going to be an easy game. For the Giants, do I believe they're going to win? No. The Chiefs are mad. They're pissed off. They lost their last game. They're ready to crush somebody over there in Arrowhead Stadium. So we're going to see what's going to happen. And we're going to go from there. We can go from there. I'm excited to get my Women's Entrepreneur Series started. Hopefully will start this Thursday with my special guests. You will see the trailers real soon about it, and we're gonna start doing that as well. Those episodes will be every Thursday for the Women's Entrepreneurs event. It will be every Thursday, and it will be announced, but it will be every Thursday as myself, JoeyG, Ricky Brown, Layla T. We're gonna come back to you guys with more podcasts. I know everyone's missing us, but we'll definitely come back with more podcasts. You can definitely view this podcast on YouTube. Listen to the podcast on Spotify, Anchor, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeart Radio, Soundcloud, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. It's your man, Big Dom. I want to sign off on this podcast. I'll holler at you guys soon. And we'll be Thursday. Peace.